Morning, lovelies. I'm just thinking about what I'm doing. Morning, how are you all? I hope you are well. I've just said morning, not good morning. I know, put the washing up away. Morning rather than good morning, because it isn't. It isn't a good morning. It's a positively grotty, chilly, damp morning. We're supposed to be in summer, and look, I've got my hoodie on. But we have, I was hearing this, I think, on the radio the other day. We've just had the driest spring in 69 years. So, sorry, clatterbang water. So for most of us, that's our lifetime. So this is the driest spring we've had in most of our lifetimes. Bonkers. So yeah, the rain is actually desperately needed. For reservoirs, rivers, our gardens, etc, etc. And talking of the rain, so yeah, I've got all sorts to get on with today. I've sort of organised my day, so it's just dried up momentarily, but it's not going to stay dry, it's going to carry on raining. So I've organised my day with all sorts of indoor work. So for example, I've got a load of stock to upload. I did all the photography yesterday when we had better light, but yeah, there's hours and hours and hours of work there to keep me occupied. I'll do some eBay. Folk asked me about eBay. No, I don't have a separate shop. I mean, I don't have a shop on eBay. I just do it as an individual. Just every now and again, when I've got a few bits and bobs to sell that aren't suitable for my shop. So yeah, eBay too. And one of the jobs this morning, I picked up a load of Kilner jars. So, well, I picked up 8 second-hand. 4 are for me and 4 are for the shop. So I've got 2 of the straight-sided ones and 2 of the round ones. But gosh, they were in a state. They were absolutely plastered with sticky labels and, you know, food labels, preserving labels. So yesterday they had a really long soak whilst I was doing photography, and then after I finished photographing, I came in and spent ages picking those pesky bits of labels off. Honestly, I earned my money the hard way. I might make 50p a pound profit on each one, but anyway, it's worth it eventually. It all adds up. So they need a thorough clean today, and I'm probably going to replace the rubber seals. So I've got a packet of the rubber seals here. I've already used one on one of the ones that I'm keeping for myself because the seal had completely perished. That's what I love about Kilner's, is all the parts, you can buy the spare parts. So in theory, that's going to last you not just your lifetime, I like that. Once upon a time in my lifetime. Not just your lifetime, but hand it on to your kids, grandkids, next door neighbour, whatever, their lifetimes too. So, and brilliant, Nixon's had these. I was about to order them online, and then I thought, hang on a minute, and because I know Nixon's have got that big preserving section, and they've got tons of the Kilner stuff. Let's check them out first. A, because then I'm supporting a local business, and B, then I'm not paying postage charge, and C, I'm not waiting in for a delivery, although these would fit through the letterbox. So that's a job to do in a moment. So I'll just wash them in, you know, really hot soapy water, rinse them, and then dry them straight away, buff them so the glass doesn't show any watermarks, but then let them air dry for a good couple of days as well, just because of where all the little metal parts are. Just let them dry really thoroughly so they don't rust, anything like that. I need to do more. I'll do that in a second too. This is out ready because my tap is normally set to cold water because when I'm topping up my water bottle. So when I turn it to hot and turn the tap on, it'll run cold for a little moment, and it takes a while for the hot to come through. So I always run it into this, and likewise if it's been hot and I want cold water, I run it into this until it runs cold, because then this goes into the watering can that is just by the back door. Not a drop wasted. I mean, look, I don't want to waste any water now, especially because I'm paying for it all. But even in London, I was always really mindful of my water consumption, trying to never waste anything. So washing up water can go on the garden on established plants. I used to keep my bath water for flushing the loo. And I did have someone comment once to say, you don't need to do all that because you're not on a meter. In London I wasn't metered, I paid a flat rate. Didn't matter how much or how little I used, I would still pay that flat rate. It's not just about the bill though, is it? This water conservation and being mindful with our water. I just said, you know, we've had the driest spring in 69 years. That's a long time to beat a record. What would that be 70 years ago? 1955, 1956? Most of us weren't even born. But yeah, having had such a dry spring, the reservoirs are going to be really, really low. And before we know it, we'll all have hose pipe bans, and then everyone's going to be complaining, oh, hose pipe ban. So let's all do our little bit to conserve water. Right, there's still a bit in there. My washing up liquid, I refilled this. It was a little bit before I left London, so it's like the end of March, April, May, June, so it's 3 months. So I need to refill that today with my minimal dishwashing liquid, which I haven't used yet. I've used the laundry liquid, as you know, and I really like it. So I've got my funnel ready. Thanks, Nixon's. So I'll do that in a second. Yes, over here. So I also went to Nixon's when I went to get my Kilner replacement rubber seals. I also bought one of these little kettle scale collectors. I've got a new kettle, electric. Hold on. Here's the old whistling one from my hob. It's quite similar in a way. I didn't really want to go this route, but I don't drink, let's get this out now. I don't drink a lot of hot drinks. In fact, I would say before I did treats for a tenner last Christmas, I might not even have a hot drink in the whole week. So I, rarely boil the kettle. Generally I boil the kettle in winter, it's for my hot water bottle. However, when I did that treats for a tenner and discovered that gorgeous hot chocolate that's only 40 calories a mug, that's become a little bit of a treat for me these days. And yeah, I enjoy it. That's all there is to it. So, do I have one every day? I probably do have one most days. So I've been managing with the hob kettle, and I love it because it whistles, which means if I've set it to go and I go off into the garden or go off into the front room to get on the computer and do work, that whistle is pretty shrill. It's like, oh yeah, the kettle, I completely forgot I put the kettle on. However, when Richard and Paul came to visit, they do drink hot drinks, tea, coffee, etc. Well, tea and coffee, mainly. It was really noticeable to boil the kettle just for the two of them, not necessarily for me. I wouldn't necessarily have a drink every time they had one, but just boiling the kettle for 2 cups, it's like 6 minutes. It's ridiculous. Actually, it was they that suggested you need to get an electric kettle. This is wasting you a lot of fuel. And if I was sticking with just me, I might have thought, I'll stick with the hob kettle. But then also thinking ahead to this winter coming, because when I first moved in, it was so cold and damp. I did have quite a few hot water bottles, and goodness knows how long a full kettle took to boil. So I've gone for the electric now, and I'm really glad because since Richard and Paul came to visit, I've had more visitors. I'm due another lot of visitors in 2 weeks after that, and that's, people staying here for a few days, so there's going to be lots of kettle boiling. And then about 4 weeks after them, I've got my bestie is coming to stay. She'll be here for about a week, I think. And so it goes through the year. I've got visitors lined up for the whole year. So I thought, yeah, bite the bullet, get the electric one. Oh my goodness, it's so quick. So thank you, Richard and Paul. Just boiling one for myself. I mean, it's less than a minute. So I'm really pleased with it. And there are all sorts of brands. This one is, oh, my ankle just went funny. I don't know how you say it, Daewoo. And it's kind of slightly vintage inspired. And I think they have it in a sort of a minty, not minty green, a slubby sage green and a grey, I think. But yeah, it's so quick. But it's really apparent. In fact, it's more apparent in here. I don't think you're going to be able to see. Because I live in a hard water area. I'm getting these calcium deposits. And there's almost like a calcium scum on the water. So I bought one of these things, and it just that calcium is attracted to it and it sticks to it. And then when this gets full of those deposits, literally all you do is run it under the tap, giving it a squeeze, and those deposits come out. So that's all it is. Just goes in there and it stays in there. And obviously, you know, in terms of efficiency, if it gets really, really line scaly, it's hard, it's taking longer to heat up, the element gets furred up, it's much more, it's better for the machine and therefore economic in terms of power consumption to keep your equipment scale free if you can. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. It's funny because now it's down this end of the kitchen as opposed to the hob. All the teas and coffees are all at that end, so I might have to bring them down here. They can't go in here. That's the shop in there. Little things getting on with. One of my other jobs today is, come on to this. We might have to have a little sit. Let's have a sit and a natter about this, because I'm going to talk about plumbing, asbestos, windows, all sorts. Yeah, let's have a sit and a natter. It's such a dull day. I've got the lights on, and I also have to bring in the studio light. It's really bright. But I think that's warming the room up. Take my hoodie off at last. Right, where are we at? Yes, plumbers and stuff in a second. And I've had my Instant Pot instructions out. Just having a brief little look through. I mean, obviously, this is stuff I need to do it with the actual piece of equipment. But yeah, just kind of having a little look to say to myself, look, Vivi, it's not too scary. But as I previously mentioned, that's going to be more of a winter task. There's just so much to get on with. Okay, talking of the getting on with things. The to-do list here is frighteningly long. But that's okay. I knew what I was taking on. Obviously, I had a home buyer's report, as you call it in the States. I think a survey. I had my survey done, and it was a full, extensive survey of the whole building, not just my bit of the property. So yeah, I knew I was taking on, it's a bit of a doer-upper. So I know, I've had folks saying, it's a lovely flat, it doesn't need anything doing. It does need things doing. It's just not necessarily things that are going to show up on camera. But anyway, so I started about 4 weeks ago, I started the process for the windows. I got all sorts of companies in, got all my quotes, chose my company, went with one particular company. They then came back to do the survey, and at the same time I started the planning application process. I'm not a listed building, but I am in a conservation area. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. They make it so difficult. My planning application has been rejected. It's not the actual application. It's not that they're saying, no, you can't put new windows in. I need new windows, they're rotten. I've got a plant growing in one of the window frames. The frame is so rotten, you poke it, and anyway. So they haven't said, no, you They're saying no to my letter, as in my application. It's an online form. It's incomplete, you need to do this, that. There's so many hoops to jump through. And I've spent hours in total on the phone, on hold, trying with them to get help, trying to get advice. And they say the same thing every time, go to the website. Listen, mate, if the website helped, I wouldn't be on the phone to you. The website is useless. The long and the short is, I'm going to have to hire an architect. I can't believe I have to do this. I have to hire an architect, and the architect has to do drawings from above, the building, all the rights of way and access, so the road, the path, then elevations, all the elevations. I mean, it's going to cost a fortune just to do the application process. I've already spent money on the application process, some of which I won't get back. So my application has now been voided, the application is closed. I have to start all over again, which is incredibly frustrating, but rather than, continuing with that and, flogging a dead horse, horrible phrase, but rather than, just beating my head against a wall, I had to make that decision to say, you know what, stop. I have to pretend that this never happened and start again, but this time with a bit more knowledge, and find an architect who is accustomed to this kind of work, so who will know, because I have to get a heritage statement, and it's really frustrating because literally everyone in the road up to my building, they all have replacement windows, and some of them aren't even in the style of the original windows. I'm keeping my sashes, I'm keeping the exact same sizes and numbers anyway. So it's been really stressful, and I thought, I'm getting in a tizzy, nix it. So I'm going to move to a back burner for a week or so, and I'm going to go at it next week in terms of finding the architect. I've made friends with the guy on the street who's doing up his property. So I'm going to go and talk to him and say, find out about his architect, see if I can borrow his architect. What a palaver. So in the meantime, I have organised now. I've got a site visit next week from the asbestos people. They're not made of asbestos. They're not asbestos people. There's a company based in Poole, so they'll come over on the ferry next week one morning. They're going to take a sample from the shed, and hopefully it's not asbestos, and I can get on with putting up shelves in there and making it a more practical space. I mean, it's working as a space right now, but there's not much by way of sort of storage, and I want to put shelves and hooks, etc. So that's happening next week. But also just for my own peace of mind, because no matter how careful I am in there, if I was putting away, say, the washing line, because it's a great big long unwieldy thing, I mean, it's got to be about 7.5, 8 foot in total. I could easily bash one of those walls and fragment a bit and then accidentally breathe a bit of that dust in. Don't want that to happen. So if it is asbestos, then it has to be abated, which will cost. But again, this is in my survey, my home buyers report, so I knew it was a possibility. So they're coming next week. I'm going to have a plumber in next week to look at the front room radiator. And while he's here, there's something else. I've forgotten. I'm going to have him look at something else. And if I like him, because this is part of the thing of moving, is I'm trying to make new contacts. Because if I was in London, if there was anything wrong with the radiator, I'd call Mel, my lovely boiler guy, or his son Neil. Mel was my Super Mario. I spoke of him often. And quite often, if I had a problem, I'd ring Mel and he'd talk me through it over the phone to fix it. And he wouldn't even charge me. He was great. So this guy who's coming, I kind of put feelers out, and I had some quite aggressive people calling, trying to sell me. I did it through Checker Trade, and this one guy was talking about the call out, and then thermal imaging, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. And I was like, mate, I think it's just a valve change. It might not even be that. But because I've got something else for, oh, I know what it is. Something out the front. Yeah, it might just be the valve change. Anyway, so I was saying to this one company, I said, how much is that? And he said, well, 95 plus VAT, and then the call out, oh, it'll be about, about 150 plus VAT, and then however long, this much for half an hour. And I thought, he's already talked about 450, 500 quid for a valve. No. Anyway, so this guy who got in touch that I've booked in now for next week, I liked what he said in his text, I liked his prices. He said, while I'm there, it might be a good idea to do a flush out. So I'll talk to him about that, whether I really need it. And if I like him, if I like his work, those two things are really important. I want to like him as well. When you have someone coming into your home, I don't know, I have to like them. I have to get a good vibe from them. I go on vibes a lot. But then he might be my go-to for my annual service, because this boiler here, it hadn't been serviced for about 4 years, which is really naughty when you're renting somewhere. I think that's illegal, in fact. But I made it a stipulation of my purchase that boiler had to be serviced. I had to have a current safety check and service for it. Otherwise, I was walking away from the purchase. Anyway, so it was done by, I think it was done by British Gas, and they're not cheap. So I think it will be due another service January, February-ish. But I might bring that forward to September, October, because by January, everyone's got their central heating on, everyone's getting problems, everyone's trying to get a call out. I used to have my London one done. I think it was September I always had my service done, because Mel tended to have more time in September than later in the year. We'll see, but we'll see how this guy goes, and if I like him, great. He can be my go-to gas boiler and plumber type guy. So I'm looking forward to getting those things at least underway, sort of a bit of a tick. There are much bigger things to do. Because we've had this rain, I've heard it on a couple of occasions now in the night. Outside my bedroom window, I can hear a drip, 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 drip. I'm aware of it obviously in the night, because at night it's so pin drop quiet. So what I'm going to do today, later this afternoon, I think the rain's due to start again at about midday. I'm going to go out there with my brolly, and I'm going to try to, firstly on the ground I'll be able to see where the drip is and what's happening, and then look up to see what I can see. Our gutters and downpipes really need replacing, but at least today I woke up about 4 o'clock hearing this drip and leaned over in bed in this sort of semi-dark with my pen and just wrote drip on my pad next to the bed to remind me. So this morning I woke up, I was like, is that what your writing looks like in the dark, Vivi? Like a doctor. So I saw the word drip, like, it's on the list for today. When that rain starts again, give it a little while to get going, go out and see if I can locate this drip. Right, rattling through. Oh, I've got some thank yous. I've had some more lovely cards. Thank you everyone for your cards. Look at this, it's just so bright and cheerful. Thank you, Marilyn. Lovely. And then I had this one from Sarah, who also sent me a fan. I've actually got 2 fans now, so because my property is so long, I can keep one in the front room on my desk, so when I'm working in the summer and it gets too hot, fan myself. Hopefully I'll get sea breezes. But then this one I can keep through here, so that either if I'm in the kitchen, or more's the point, Sarah, I think this might be my garden fan. Also because it's so bright, it will look lovely in summer sunshine. Thank you, lovely. And then this lovely card, I think it's called, what's it called? Yeah, Woman, I was going to say Woman at the Sea. It's called Woman on Beach by Mary Fedden. Some of you may know her work. She was around, she started painting, I think she studied just before the Second World War, then war interrupted everything, or she might have studied just afterwards, but she's sort of post-war British artist. That's lovely, isn't it? Woman and her dog on the beach. Thank you, lovely. And I also had this, I've got some little bits and bobs here, from Susan. Susan, thank you for your letter. It's lovely to hear from you. And she enclosed this wee card. Isn't that cute? But look, the camera might not like, if I move my face, it'll focus on this. It's a needlepoint. Isn't that adorable? Little beach huts and needlepoint. Susan, thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Cards, letters. It's always just so lovely to hear from you. Oh yes, so something else I wanted to mention today was, having talked about the fact that I've had those visitors and do some more. So when Richard and Paul were here, and this comes back to my weight loss thing, and like I said in that video, I'm not on a diet. A diet wouldn't work because I wouldn't be able to keep it up. This is my normal healthy eating but reduced portions, with a couple of, now I've sat down and I'm sitting still, I'm feeling chilly again. The thermostat over there says it's 18 degrees in here. I don't believe it. But actually 18 degrees when you're sitting still. Anyway, yes, weight loss. I'm not on a diet, as I said. I'm just eating my normal healthy food that I've always eaten, just smaller portions. Except I have cut out the sugar and the bread. But when Richard and Paul were here, and also, I mean, I don't really eat much by way of potatoes. So it kind of comes back to this blood sugar thing. That's kind of what I've been looking at. So I don't eat many potatoes, but I do have them occasionally in something. So I don't have potatoes as a side veg pretty much ever. I mean, I might at this time of year with the first sort of the new potatoes, the Jersey Royals. Ooh. But you know, a baked potato maybe once in a couple of years. Chips, I wouldn't have chips at home, etc., etc. But I do sometimes have a potato, like so in my fasolada or in soups sometimes as a thickener. So all I've done with the potatoes is I've substituted it with swede. So my fasolada now, instead of potato, I use swede because the sugars in swede is much lower. It's going to sort of decrease that big spike. There's always a spike when we eat, but a much smaller spike, blood sugar spike I'm talking about. So the whole reason I'm mentioning this again is because also when I talked in that video about losing weight, I was saying how I'm in quite a big calorie deficit each day. That's the whole, one of the ideas behind it. So it's calorie deficit and evening out blood sugar spikes. It's essentially what I'm doing. There'll come a point when I reach my goal weight, and I hope that will be by the end of the year. I hope it might even be before the end of the year. I'll reach my goal weight and I'm going to have to add some calories back in. Do you remember I was mentioning this? Because there will come a point when I don't want to lose any more weight. I don't have to stop losing weight. So I'm going to have to add back calories, and I was reckoning 300 to 400 calories a day maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have to see further down the line. And it might be a bit weird, adding, you know, because I'm so used to eating this way now. But that will be the plan. I think I might have accidentally found out where those calories are going to be because so when did I officially launch myself into, well, it was in the new year, and I was saying how initially, well, in the first couple of weeks I lost £4 each week. That's always the case, isn't it, when you start any change to your eating regime. And then it quickly settled down into about £3 a week. And it's gradually tapering, that's also very normal, to about £2.5, £2. But in the last month or so, it's been more like £1 to £1.50 a week. And that's fine, that's absolutely fine. I'm still losing, it's tapering off. I'm not going to do anything manic now to try and get it back to £4 a week. That's too much. So I'm happy with £1.50, great. This week, well, also I should say in terms of, you know, as I pointed out in that video, I'm not obsessing about calorie counting each day. I don't do any of that. I don't weigh anything. Having done that research back in the new year and had my, you know, using my cups, so it's like a scoop of porridge and 2 scoops of milk or whatever, so as to not be obsessive about it. But what I do is I have a weekly weigh-in that I record. So I've got a little book, I keep all my notes in. It's the book I started all my notes, so when I calculated the calories for all of my own individual recipes, it's that same book. So I make a note, once a week I have a weigh-in, great. And then once a month, well, it's every sort of 4 to 5 weeks depending where it falls on the calendar. It's on a Monday, it's like the first Monday of the month or the last Monday of the month. I do a kind of a big full set of measurements. So I do all the measurements with the tape measure. That's really, at first I wasn't seeing it with the tape measure, but yeah, it's great when you start to see it with the tape measure too. So I do a full set of measurements with the tape measure. I also calculate my BMI. I make a note of how many BMI points I've lost. I make a note of how much weight I've lost in total since the beginning. And with in my books, it ends up, it's only a small notebook, but there's a whole page of, you know, bust, waist, hips at bum level, thigh, arm. And next to, in the first column on the page, I also write down what the dress size is, the equivalent dress size, and then brackets at the end of the page. I don't want it to be the first thing I see. I write down the dress size that I was when I started. And dress size, I'm different to all the different places. I mean, who was ever just a size 12? Quite often, I mean, I used to be a 10, like hips and waist, I was a 10, but bust, because I've always had a big bust, I was always a 12, so that when I eventually went up to a size 12, which if you're in America, that's a size 8. So I started as a size 6, and by the age of 25, I was a size 8. Back to Britain, I started as a size 10 and settled at a size 12 in my 20s. But my bust was always kind of verging on being a 14. Anyway, so I make a note of all those different measurements too, so I can see it, and it's really, really incentivising. It's great to keep that log and to look back to that first full set of measurements I did at the end of January this year to see how far I've come is brilliant. The reason I'm mentioning all this, and particularly about the maintenance thing, and then we'll wrap up and I'm going to get on with my work. Yeah, the reason I'm mentioning it is because this week, for the first time since January, I haven't lost any weight. I haven't gained any weight, but I haven't lost any. So for the last few weeks, like I said, I've been losing £1 or £1.50. That's Studio Lights. It doesn't last very long at all. £1 or £1.50. So I haven't lost £1 this week. Why? As I just mentioned, when Richard and Paul were here, I had an ice cream. I broke my sugar fast. You know what? That's okay. That's probably, maybe that will happen once or twice a year at most. I certainly won't go out and buy an ice cream on my own. It was purely because I had friends staying. And it was just one of those in the moment things. Yes, I'll do this. It's a one-off. I'm happy to do it. And that's what I'm saying about the reason the way I'm losing this weight is so great and works for me is because it's not a diet. There's no strictness, there's no really tight rules of you can never ever again in your life have an ice cream, never ever ever again. That would be miserable. I'm not going to have an ice cream every day, not even every week, but once a year maybe. This week, or the week that's just gone, again I had visitors, so one of the things that was really lovely, it was a grotty day when they arrived, pouring rain in the morning. In the afternoon it cleared up, but it was, you know, a bit damp and dreary still. We walked to the far end of the bay. I hadn't walked that far for ages, but that was great. Sat, watched the waves, sorry, I've got an itchy nozzle. We were just, you know, just chatting, mesmerised by the waves. I don't know how much time passed. It was just lovely. And then we walked all the way back. And then at the last minute, it was about 5 o'clock. I'd cooked lunch here. So we'd had lunch about 12:30, 1 o'clock here. I can't remember who suggested it. Might have been you, Maggie. Anyway, the suggestion was made, ooh, about a bag of chips. Yes. So I had a bag of chips. Now, I've just said I'm not including potatoes in what I'm eating, but a bag of chips by the sea. I haven't had one yet. People keep saying, have you had a bag of chips yet by the sea? It's the rule in the UK, when you buy the sea, you have to have a bag of chips with lashings of salt and vinegar. So I had a bag of chips. Gorgeous, really enjoyed it, zero guilt, loved it. And also within the same week, I've had 4 beers, because you'll have seen the Langton video by now. I had that pint at the pub. Such a gorgeous day. It was a hot day, and I'd had my stone carving experience, and I was just filled with, I was just overjoyed. I was just full of joy. So I had a second pint. And then it was time for my bus, so I came back to Swanage, and where I get off at the bus station is the train station, the same thing, it's right near the co-op, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to go and get 2 more bottles of beer, because it was really nice. Haven't had a beer in absolutely ages. Beautiful day. Came home, did all the editing for the video. It took ages because there were so many little clips to that day. And once that was done, it was about 6 o'clock. I went and sat in the garden. First time I've just sat in the garden without working in the garden, and had 2 more bottles of beer. So in a week, so I now know for future reference, once I get to my goal weight to maintain it, all I need to do in a week is have 4 beers and a bag of chips. That is not how I'm going to maintain my weight, just to say, because that's not healthy. But the point is, yeah, I'll do those things when I jolly well want to, just so long as it's not every day. Then, you know, so for instance, in this coming week, I don't have any visitors. Do I have? Oh no, I think I might be meeting up with a friend. So I might, anyway, but the point is, most weeks I won't be going to the pub and I won't be having a bag of chips. Most weeks I will not be doing that. So, you know, next week I'll lose a pound. I might even lose a bit more next week, or the week that I'm now currently in. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because it made me chuckle to myself to think, yeah, so if you want to maintain, Vivi, that's all you need to do, is have 4 beers and a bag of chips. Anyway, yeah. All right, lovelies, I'm going to get on. That was supposed to be a quickie. It's a bit longer than a quickie, but yes, that's me. That's where my life is up to. That's what's going on with this building. Ignore the windows for a week, and then I'll start back on it and find myself an architect, and just fingers crossed I can afford all of that. Although, do you remember my furniture budget? How much am I under? I've got my furniture budget. Still need to get a kitchen table. I still like to get some pieces for the garden, but I've got the original budget for those items plus the 560 odd. I'm under budget by 560 odd, so that's in my savings account still. So that could be diverted to the architect if needs be. That's what you do when you're frugal, isn't it? You kind of say, okay, what's the most important thing for me to spend my money on apart from beer and chips? It's going to be an architect. I'll keep you posted. All right, lovelies, I need to get on. I need to get up. I need to get moving on this chilly, damp day. I hope wherever you are, I hope by the time you're seeing this video, we're actually having a proper summer and having sunshine. Here's hoping. Until the next one, cheerio, lovelies.